Recently, I have stumbled on some thoughts regarding my life in the new world after over 30 years. And since I left my home world at age 19, and what dawned on me that every major life event and every achievement I had acquired over the years happened through changing the circumstances, the reason, and the direction of my original plan. Welcome back to Chatting with Slava the Jordanian. I'm your host, STJ, and I thought today I would share with you guys the conclusion that I reached to after analyzing my life and reflecting on the years since I left my home world. And I, like I said, realized that a lot of my achievements happened by default. Let's start from the beginning, back in time, 1987, 1988, when I decided to leave Saudi Arabia and come to the United States in order to pursue my education. And I was dreaming of a grand career in dentistry. The first thing that I thought of is the concept of what if. So after I graduated from high school, 6 months or 3 months even after I graduated from high school, I had my first marriage proposal. It was an arranged marriage, but it wasn't a forced marriage. And when I decided to stay in Saudi Arabia, my freshman year in college, I spent a year in Riyadh, and then I left that life because it just wasn't working for me, and I knew that I did not belong in these conditions and that environment. And I decided to spend one extra semester after that year in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And simply, I keep thinking, what if I didn't leave Riyadh? What if I decided to bite the bullet and work really, really hard to adapt and simulate in such a very conservative, traditional Wahhabism lifestyle in Riyadh and finish my undergrad, then embarked on coming to the United States to pursue my dental degree? What if I stayed in Riyadh? I have no idea what would have happened, but I didn't. And I decided to move back home to Jeddah and spend a whole semester there. But again, the question is, what if I stayed in Jeddah? I do have an answer for that one. I don't have an answer for what if I stayed in Riyadh, but I do have an answer for what if I stayed in Jeddah. If I stayed in Jeddah, I would have probably ended up marrying or agreeing to accept my second marriage proposal or my second arranged marriage to a very, very wealthy family, a prominent family in Jeddah. They were the Procter & Gamble agent in Saudi Arabia. So let's just take this on and see where we end up. If I stayed in Jeddah, finished my undergrad, and got married, I would have never became a dentist. I would have ended up with some kind of a science bachelor degree, got married, had kids, had a family, and moved on. But I didn't. After a semester, I had this nagging voice inside of me telling me that You need to move on. This is not right for you. This is not the best choice for you. One of the reasons that pushed me out of Saudi Arabia is the recurrent suggestion to accept an arranged marriage. So that was, in my dictionary, that was by default. So if I didn't have that pressure of marrying a certain person, I would have felt more comfortable continuing my life in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. But that did not happen. So that's the first default circumstances that created some kind of a default outcome or drive for me to leave Saudi Arabia. Now, after leaving Saudi Arabia, I had two options: either come to the Western world or go back to Jordan. But the fact that I never lived in Jordan and I didn't have that strong societal, cultural bond or connection with Jordan in comparison to what I had with the United States, I ended up in the United States. Now, here's another what if. What if I never came to the United States to vacation and never built that connection and that relationship with the society and culture of the United States? I probably would have ended up in Jordan. Now, how would that life look like? I can only guess that, again, I would have probably accomplished more career-wise, education-wise in Jordan than I would have if I stayed in Jeddah and married that Procter & Gamble suitor. And by the way, he ended up passing away, unfortunately, of a heart condition when he was probably in the early 40s. He was very, very young. So I would have been a widow if I married him. Or, I don't know, maybe he never ended up with a heart attack. A heart attack could be induced by stress. Maybe he wasn't happy with his life or his marriage. I don't know. Going back to Jordan, if I stayed in Jordan or I ended up in Jordan, I would have probably continued the dental school education. But I'm not sure if I would have left Jordan to come to the United States to pursue a career in dentistry, or I would have stayed in Jordan, got married, had a career, had a family, and that was the end of it. But I didn't. So when I was faced with the decision to leave Saudi Arabia, either go to Jordan or come to the United States, I ended up coming to the United States. So deep inside me, I kept digging for the reason of, why did I not go to Jordan? And I can't find a straight answer for that. All I know that I just did not identify with the Jordanian culture as much as I identified with the American culture. I was a lot more comfortable. So the American culture was more of my comfort zone than the Jordanian culture. And after spending a year and a half in the Saudi college system, I just didn't want to even give it a chance or consider the notion to go to Jordan, because I didn't feel that it was going to elevate my lifestyle or the quality of my future. Back then, I know now have changed. I'm talking in the 80s. And according to a lot of the new friends that I met from Jordan here in the United States, it's pretty much unrecognizable right now, Jordan, in a good way. But that was by default. Again, if I would have vacationed more in Jordan and reconnected with friends or reconnected with family and had or created friendships in Jordan, probably I would have given Jordan a chance and considered finishing my education in Jordan, but I didn't. So that was by default. When I say by default, I always use it as it wasn't by choice. There are certain circumstances that pushed me or made me lean towards coming to the United States. Now, I always think about if I didn't come to the United States with my brother, that made me go to Case Western Reserve instead of going to Duke University or University of Southern California, where I got accepted, I would have never met my darling Egyptian. And again, things happen for a reason. So do you start seeing the dominoes effect or the ripple effect of the first decision I made to leave Saudi Arabia? So I knew what I wanted and I knew why I wanted it, but I had no idea how to get it done and achieve my goal. I just went with the flow. And that's what life tends to do to us sometimes, or a lot of times, even though we have a certain plan that has been designed for a reason and driven by passion, driven by achievement, driven by our dreams. But again, you drive yourself in that specific direction and you have a dead end or an obstacle and you have to redirect yourself. Of course, with all the emotions that we go through, rejection, betrayal, guilt, shame, resentment, anger, stress, anxiety, pain, we carry that with us as we go through the journey of facing that rejection that the universe puts in front of us or throws at us, and then we end up redirecting our path. So a Case Western, and when I started Case, I kept asking myself, what was I thinking? I ended up in Cleveland, Ohio, what we call the mistake on the lake, with the lake effect, wintertime, instead of going to Duke University, where the weather is absolutely beautiful and it's very similar to Saudi Arabia. So I would have adapted a lot faster. But it seems like the universe did not want me to take the fastest way. The universe wanted me to take the detour in order for me to learn more and have a higher level of self-improvement. Now, I'm saying that right now when I am on the other side of the journey. I'm not in it anymore. So before, the way I describe it all the time, I was in that tornado, spinning, trying to get stuff done, trying to achieve what I came here to achieve. And sometimes I'll be in the eye of the storm. But now I am outside of the storm, looking at it after the fact. So I met my husband at Case Western. And because I was at Case Western, I ended up pulling my younger brother to Case because we were very, very close. And he followed me to Case. And he's the one that built the friendship with my husband. And that's why I ended up trusting my husband as a life partner. When he proposed, I ended up saying yes, obviously. But my plan is to finish dental school before I get married. The universe had a different plan for me. the universe put Ehab in front of me, and I ended up falling in love and decided to marry this person. So that was a detour from the original plan of, no, finishing dental school first. I might meet a dentist in dental school and then get married. That's number one. Not only I got married to Ehab at Case Western, I could not directly or right away apply to dental school and get into dental school because he was in graduate school. And I decided to move with him to California and put dental school on hold for about 2 years because I had to move, settle in, apply to dental school, also trying to find a job to help my husband with the income and the cost of living. So that was the little detour from dental school, but I stayed on the path. It wasn't a straightforward path as I imagined, but I stayed on track with a little bit of detour. What that did gave me the opportunity to gain more experience, life experience as an employee, working in the daycare, working as a full-time nanny. And obviously, as you guys know, I'm so passionate about early childhood development years. And I learned so much about life just by hanging out and working with children. It made me stronger. It made me wiser. It helped me mature. It taught me responsibilities, bigger responsibilities than myself. So when I was in it, in the eye of the storm, I did not understand why am I doing it the way I'm doing it. But now I can tell you that the reason why the universe asked me or set me up to take those 2 years off after undergrad before I started dental school, it gave me the proof that I really want to do dentistry, because I tried to put dentistry on break and get into the science field, do research, maybe get my master's these 2 years, then go to dental school. But I did not end up doing that. Instead, I ended up working with children, which I absolutely loved. And even when I applied to dental school, and I shared the story with you guys, it wasn't really straightforward acceptance. I got accepted by default because NYU accepted me in the 5-year program, not the 4-year program. And because timing was perfect enough that I was the right candidate for that program. So basically they gave me the ultimatum after I interviewed, either accept the 5-year program or, we don't have a spot for you. You have to wait for next year. You have to reapply. And after 2 years of living life, I just didn't feel that it was the right thing to push it out anymore, because I was worried that I'm going to get very lazy about life, or I'm going to end up in a different profession and get comfortable and forget about dental school. So I decided, you know what, 5 years is fine. So what is one extra year? I'm splitting the first year into 2. It's a lot easier financially, and it was more practical for me. So again, it was by default. Universe told me it's not going to be a straight shot, really easy. You apply, you get interviewed, you get accepted. There is a but, right? You are accepted, but not for the 4-year program, but for the 5-year program. So I ended up in dental school in New York City. And I always ask myself, why New York? It was so hectic. It was very challenging to commute. It was very expensive. It was a lot of pressure because it's a very high-profile school. But now I realize the reason why I ended up in New York City, in NYU in New York City, because I would have never experience the love and the support and the empowerment that I had from my in-laws. I can't imagine going to dental school on my own without that support. Right now, I can't imagine it. Back then, probably I kept questioning, why am I doing this that way? I'm probably better off being on my own, focusing on school, living on campus, somewhere in a state where everything is more convenient and I can reach, anywhere without commuting through trains and commuting through subways and commuting through PATH trains and, fighting the crowds and the 3 million people a day entered New York City with me every single morning at that time. But I'm very grateful that I decided to accept the NYU offer and not delay the starting dental school, because in order for me to apply another school away from New York City. And those moments that I'm so nostalgic about, the intimate moments and the intimate time that I spent with my in-laws, Allah yarhamhum, now they're gone, may they rest in peace, I would have never traded for anything in the world. Those years that I lived with them away from California and away from EHAB, they were very, very special years to me. And until this day, it gives me a lot of comfort and a lot of bliss.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to reclaim your health, improve your mindset, and connect with purpose? I'm Stacey Garcia, mom, integrative health coach, Reiki master practitioner, cancer survivor, and your host of the Never Miss a Monday podcast. Every Monday, we dive into honest conversations with real moms, therapists, nutritionists, family, and friends. No matter what you're facing in life, Never Missing a Monday can help you get through your Monday and your week. New episodes every Monday. Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
During so many days of stress and pressure and challenges. So that's why I ended up in NYU. So I can spend time with these beautiful people that made me who I am as an adult and honestly as a professional. Then Ehab, my husband, finished his PhD, came back to New Jersey, and he started with a new company that we had to move away from my in-laws for, which is outside of Princeton, New Jersey. My commute got longer. During my last clinical year, and it made it harder because I started seeing patients and I had to work till 5 o'clock. It's not like when the years that you have classes, sometimes the classes end at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so you end up going home early, taking a break, sleeping, napping, recharging, and then start the next day all over again. But the clinic was set in a certain way that I had to be there for my patients. And that's where you learn time management, proficiency, efficiency, scheduling, all that stuff that goes beyond just your dental knowledge, your clinical knowledge. So I had to commute even longer when my husband graduated, finished his postdoc training, and moved to Lawrenceville, New Jersey, and which is right next to Princeton. So my commute was a lot longer. His commute got shorter. And again, back then I was in the eye of the storm. Now I am looking at the storm from the outside. So, and I ended up doing a residency in Pennsylvania, in North Reading, Pennsylvania, and that was a 90-minute car drive commute one way. And I had no idea why I did that, because I had the opportunity to buy a practice right after dental school, but that fell through in Pennsylvania. And I decided to do a residency. And I'm glad I did, because every skill that I have that helped me gain the ability of troubleshoot and thinking outside the box came from that year of residency that I decided to do. So again, by default, if that purchase of that practice in Pennsylvania did not fall through, I would have ended up being a business owner right at age 30. And I would have never experienced public health, and I would never experience the Catholic Health Initiative system that is so rewarding, and it gave so much for a lot of people and helped me gain a lot of humility and made me conduct myself with a humble lifestyle or a personality style. And I met amazing people in that program. Again, by default, because when the deal fell through of owning a practice, I had to find an alternative and redirect my interest in, all right, I'll do a residency then. What else I'm going to do is too late. And I even signed up for the residency last minute because the deal of purchasing a practice fell through the last minute. So I ended up in Pennsylvania. And then, true story, one time I was finishing dental school, was my senior year. No, I was in the residency actually. So we were just living from one check to check every single month. And my husband walks in one day and he says, "Hey, listen, I'm very excited. I just bought a timeshare." And I'm like, "What? What were you thinking? Timeshare? We don't have money to start owning property for passive income." And he said, "No, I know you love Disney, and my coworker, he convinced me to buy DVC, Disney Vacation Club. It's very cheap. It's $150 a month. We can pay that off in 5 years." And I was like livid. I was, "What were you thinking? We don't have the money. What if we default on the payment? We're going to lose it. It's going to affect our credit." But we didn't. And we paid it off in 5 years. And that was one of the best things that we ever done. And we made so many beautiful memories with family and friends in Disney. But again, the universe sends you a lot of detours, and sometimes you don't know what to do with these detours. But the best thing to do is listen to your intuition and follow your gut feeling. Because sometimes that detour has a gift for you at the end of that road. And the universe is trying to tell you that, no, this is not for you. This is for you. Trust me. You need this in order to be a better person, in order for you to end up with a higher level of self-improvement and self-awareness. And trust me, you'll be better off in the long run than just staying on a route or a path that might look simple or might look very, very attractive, but trust me, it is more exciting journey, and it is such a teaching moment if you go through the detour that I put in front of you. Basically, you need to release the resistance. Don't resist, and don't adapt a limited mindset by eliminating yourself of that adventure, of that experience, which is a new experience that would help you gain so many skills that you never think that you will pick up, and makes you a better person or a better version of who you are. So I finished my residency, and then my husband ends up getting transferred to Maine to work with National Semiconductor. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't get a break. Another detour. I wanted to stay in New Jersey, New York. My in-laws are there. I wanted to build a life there. But that was not the universe's plan. The universe's plan for Slava is to go to Maine, live there for 2 years, and then come back. And I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to take on an associateship where I can buy that practice and they just settle down, because I was tired, I was exhausted. I was almost 31 years old. I had so much debt. I wanted to start making money, to start chipping away of the debt that I acquired with dental school. But that was not the universe's plan. So I followed the universe to Maine. And I am so glad that I did, because I would have never met my mentor, Dr. Ted Morgan, in Maine. And I learned so much from him and from his training and from his coaching and from his mentoring. The skills that I picked up from my mentor, I still use till this day. And a lot of it made me the practitioner that I am today. Not what I learned in dental school, is what I learned from my mentor in Maine. And Maine was the perfect spot to start my career as an associate, because it was very calm and quiet, away from the hustling and bustling of the city life or even the big state life. And it was a good time for me to really hunker down, take it slow, take it all in, and figure out what I want to do. So when I left Maine, I was a much stronger professional, clinician, skill-wise, and I had a clearer picture of what exactly I wanted. So when I applied for my associateship in New Hampshire, I applied everywhere. And then I get a call from Dr. Jerry Susi, who happens to graduate from dental school out of Case Western Reserve, where I went in undergrad, and that's what caught his eye on my resume when he read Case Western. So when I met him, on the spot, he hired me. Another detour. So when he hired me, the whole plan was for me to be trained under him for the first 4 years, because he was on his way out to retire, but he passed away in a car accident 4 months after I started. So the whole plan over 4 or 5 years of mentorship, so I can stand on my feet, to transform me into an owner material that went outside the door, right? Because he passed away. Then I was by myself with his junior partner. I had no idea how to own a business. So his junior partner approached me and he asked me, would you be willing to start the process of ownership? And I said, I have no idea I have no knowledge of how to own a business. I never owned a business in my life. And I just finished my residency, and I was an associate for 2 years, and that got cut short because my husband's work got transferred again to Massachusetts. He said, don't worry about it, I'll teach you everything. Within 18 months, I became an equal partner in the second largest dental practice in southern New Hampshire. Very, very young owner. So I became an owner of Hudson Dental by default again. And the universe was telling me that that's what you get for accepting that detour and willing to just work it. And this is what the universe has for you. With all the planning, with all the dreaming, with all the goals that I put for myself, none of that came to reality. It's completely different plan. It's what I'm living right now is completely different plan. And then I thought I'm going to be with Bill for the rest of my career until I retire. And that did not work. So I created my brand by default. Because if I did not end up opening the med spa with my friend, and if my partner did not find out about that med spa and lost his mind about it and kicked me out, I would have never started my brand, Greenwood Dental Partners. So even the plan that I had after all this detour and said, this is it, I'm going to be a partner, I am a partner, I'm going to stay here, work it till I retire, that changed, right? And the universe said, no, this is not forever. We have another plan, a different plan for you. So my dental divorce happened, that's what I call it, and I got kicked out. Now what? Well, I guess the last thing that I have is to open my own practice. I'm not going to go into another associate. I'm not going to go into a partnership. Been there, done that. So I created my own brand, Greenwood Dental Partners, in 2013. It was hard. It was stressful. It was uncomfortable. It was painful. A lot of crying, a lot of tears, a lot of outbursts. And that was the most intense time, I call it, being in the eye of the storm. Because I was totally on my own. No mentorship, no partnership, no backup. It's all me. I had to take all the decisions. I had to design everything. I had to make all the choices for the first time. And I kept asking myself through the journey, why am I going through this? I've done everything right. I have taken every detour and made something out of it. So why am I going through this again? The reason why is so I can build my brand, so I can bring my husband into the brand, to expose him to the model and everything that I dreamt of as a dental practice, so he can be inspired to create our franchise that got launched in July 2024 and become a brand of 3 practices in 2 different states. And I can go through so much detail of the people that I met through that journey that changed my life over and over and over again by inspiring me, by impacting my knowledge, by empowering me, by supporting me. I'm talking about patients that I became so close to and built a 20 plus years of relationship, right? I saw them, I treated them, I serviced their children, and now I'm servicing their grandchildren, believe it or not. And that is one of the most amazing things about my journey, and I would have never traded for anything in the world. I won't change anything about it. But I never, ever, ever thought I'll be the one that's owning 3 practices, having a podcast, having a franchise, being an ambassador for the MM360 global movement, and doing what I'm doing right now. So I am sitting in that sweet spot, but I'm telling you that trust your instinct, trust your intuition, trust the process. And if the universe puts a detour in front of you, do not be sad about it. Release the blame, release the resentment, release the anger, and go with the flow with caution, right? Make sure you're constantly redesigning and replanning as you're going through that detour, because the universe has a different plan for you. And I can't even emphasize it enough that these life experiences make us who we are. I am here because of these detours, because these detours made me meet amazing, amazing people that influenced my life. And like I said, made me who I am today. So as a message of self-improvement, mastering an unlimited mindset by eliminating limited beliefs that I'm not going to take this detour, I'm going to dig my heels and I'm going to try to plow through that blockade or to get to the goal and to accomplish the vision that I had for myself. But the only thing that you're doing, if you end up doing that, is ricocheting against that dead end. And you're going to get so frustrated and you have to rectify the damage that you would cause by resisting that detour. That's my recommendation. But my whole life is a default by default by default by default, because again, the universe had a different plan for me. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As a reminder, these episodes are uploaded every single Wednesday on the Apple and the Spotify podcast platforms, but also these episodes are available for you to watch on our YouTube channel, The Greenwood Dental Partners. So if you like this content and if you enjoy these episodes, please like, share, and hit the notification button so you don't miss any episodes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you next time. This is Slava the Jordanian.